Understanding literature, consider literary devices. And what that is, you're just going to analyze the author's use of imagery, symbolism, metaphors, simile, allusion, and even foreshadowing. These are devices that add depth and layers of meaning to the text. So you want to pay attention to how they contribute to the overall message or the aesthetic of the work. So let's talk about imagery. Imagery is a concept that is quite easy to understand. It is the use of a vivid description in order to explain a situation to a reader or someone who's listening. It's a way to build the picture or the image in the mind so that the audience can gain a greater understanding of the situation that's being talked about. Imagery is used as both a literary device and a figurative language. In the latter, it is a great way for a speaker to express in a more colorful way. Now, what's symbolism? Symbolism is the idea of using a symbol to represent a meaning, idea, or a quality. The symbols that are given do not have to have the same literal meaning as the thing about which they are referring to. Using symbolism gives the speaker or the writer the opportunity to describe something in a more poetic fashion rather than simply saying what they mean outright. Symbolism can be used to express an emotion or something which is more of like a general idea or even a hidden meaning. In some cases, symbolism can mean different things to different people depending on how they interpret it. Now, a metaphor is a form of figurative language. A metaphor is a rhetorical device in which an object, idea, or situation is referred to directly as something it is not. It moves away from referring to something in a literal sense and refers to it as something else in order to create a more imaginative figure of speech and description of something. When used as a literary device, a metaphor can add a more detailed and complex description to something, giving the reader a more in-depth experience. A metaphor is more easily able to convey when it comes to ideas or an emotion than by simply using a literal statement. And because I think this is a beautiful metaphor, I am going to share this with you as an example. In I Carry Your Heart With Me, written by E.E. Cummings, the metaphor that I think is so beautiful is, you are what a moon means, and what a sun sings is you. Next is simile. It's another form of figurative language in which a comparison is made between two things which have something in common, using the words like or as. You should remember that from school. The simile is used to describe an item, situation, emotion, or action by comparing it to something else in order to make the statement more creative or artistic. When used as a literary device, a simile can give a more emotional and complex feel to a piece of writing. It also enables the author to better convey the description by using this type of figure of speech as a comparison. For example, they fight like cat and mouse. Now, an allusion is a form of figurative language in which an object, person, idea is brought to mind without directly mentioning the name of what is being referred to. In most cases, allusion is used to divert the mind to something which is not within the general context of the current conversation, and it's often left to the imagination of the listener or the reader to create the reference for themselves. When used as a literary device, allusion is usually used in order to reference a part of the text which appeared earlier on. For example, if someone was to say, there's no need to act like Romeo for her, that is just a reference to the character Romeo from the play Romeo and Juliet. Lastly is foreshadowing, and this is easily recognizable in sacred text, especially for Bible readers in Revelations. What is foreshadowing? Foreshadowing is a type of literary device where an author makes a hint towards something that will happen later. This usually appears at the beginning of the text, either at the very beginning or the start of a chapter. It is a way to encourage the reader to think about what may be to come and cause them to develop an expectation of what the story might bring later down the line. Foreshadowing is a form of suspense. So if I was having a conversation with someone, an example of foreshadowing could be, I'm going to tell you what happened on the camping trip shortly, but first I must tell you where we went. Remember, these devices add depth and layers of meaning to the text, so pay attention to how they contribute to the overall message.